What's up, everybody? I am Wooly from S3 Magazine. The dude with the clean cut hair is Mike Sanders from S3 Magazine.
What's up?
Um, and sorry if you were watching these podcasts before and we left you hanging. We kind of slacked on it a bit. Um, we've been talking about it though, and the way the car industry is going these days, it's kind of going down the toilet in kind of a quick way. It seems like most of the news is bad news that the automotive community is getting these days. So we figured we start it back up. We're going to try and do them more frequently and try and keep them, fairly shorter, just to try and talk about these things from a car enthusiast point of view. It seems like we've got I don't know how to put it politely, but it seems like we've got enough nerd voices in the car community right now. And we feel like, we need to kind of rally the troops or build the army, so to speak. I think that there's a lot of people that probably think the way that we do. I think that automotive journalism is totally effed up. I think it's going after SEOs and clicks, and it's written for algorithms and computers, and it's not written from the heart. So even if you're not agreeing with what we say, like you don't, it's all opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but just trust that what we're saying is coming from a place of just compassion for the automotive community, and we're gonna fight for it. Probably we're on a sinking ship, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
But whatever, man. We like to think that S3 is kind of punk rock, and we're just not gonna play those games and conform to all the SEO phrases and buzzwords and stuff like that. So, having said that, what kind of spawned this is Mike got all, pissed off about some comment on TikTok or Reels. It must have been TikTok, because at least Reels, we know the people, like they're friends of the magazine or whatever. TikTok, you don't know who's going to see this stuff. So, a very typical common response these days, whenever you're talking about EV automotive news, is something along the lines of EV is better in every way. Just deal with it. Also, EV is the future, but Mike can talk about that. Those are two different things. EV is better in every way is not necessarily the same thing. Sorry, I just kind of flicked off the camera. Not necessarily the same thing as EV is the future. But anyway, that's enough of an introduction. Mike, what's got you all pissy?
That's come on, man. That's a shitty introduction. He's right. I really shouldn't read comments. I used to never read them, and I was a much happier person. But then I kind of started trying to play the game and read the comments and interact with people interacting with us. And it's great when I'm talking to other fellow gearheads and people who not necessarily agree with me, but at least truly understand the topic of what we're discussing. And they know nuts and bolts of cars and how this different types of technology works and how it works within our industry, more importantly. But yeah, so a lot of people got onto a video that I made recently, and you could tell that they were not really car enthusiasts, but were, people who liked and backed EVs. And that's fine. I've driven some EVs. They're cool. Not exactly my cup of tea. Most of them are kind of one-trick ponies, but they're neat. It's neat technology for sure. I am not ready for it to replace my internal combustion engines anytime soon, though. But yeah, a lot of people on there were basically saying, just rubbing my nose in it, I guess, saying electric's here and it's here to stay, and it's better in every way. And I get it. It is here and it is here to stay, and it is the future because our government's pushing it very, very hard. Governments across the world are pushing it very hard. All the automotive manufacturers are selling out crazy, as fast as they can to jump on the EV bandwagon. But the thought that as of right now, where everything stands, that EVs are better in every way than internal combustion engines is just a flat out lie. It's 100% wrong. They're better at some things. They are worse at a lot of things. Do you want to kind of dice that up, Wooly? I mean, I guess we're kind of the resident experts here on this podcast when it comes to that kind of stuff. We've driven a lot of gas-powered cars and several EVs. So I think that, we can kind of speak on this better than most people can. they obviously it's electric. That's what we're going for. It's going to run off of the power grid. You don't have to use gasoline. And they have gotten better thanks to Elon Musk. That dude's a freaking rock star. I mean, he has absolutely changed the game by himself. One thing about this whole thing that kind of pisses me off a little bit is how Ford and GM and everybody else is literally just jumping up on his coattails and saying, ooh, us too. We can do it too, us too. It's kind of bullshit. You know, they're just basically, you know, resting on his laurels to try to keep their companies moving in a forward direction, even if it's, you know, what I think is the wrong direction. But let's break it down here real quick, Wooly. Give me some ways right off the top of your head that internal combustion engines and just cars as they've been made over the past several decades are still superior than EVs.
I mean, yeah, all right. So, first of all, when we talk about those commoners, we're just going to refer to them as the nerds, okay? So the first and foremost problem is we're not having the same conversation. The nerds do not know cars the way that we know cars. The nerds have probably grown up in the back of a minivan and not a vintage 911. The nerds have probably never owned a stick shift car. The nerds are probably waiting outside the Apple store for every new iPhone. They're more of iPhone enthusiasts than they are car enthusiasts. So we ain't having the same conversation right off the bat when they say they're better in every way. Emotionally, no. You don't connect to them. So like right off the rip, I know that we are not having the same conversation. Obviously, all right, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. There's less moving parts. That's true. I've driven electric cars, and when you drive like your first electric car, you do feel like, wow, I'm experiencing the future. And it is different than everything I've ever learned with tuning and boost and fuel injectors and all of these things that we do to cars that's irrelevant, you know? But having said that, that's where it stops. There's not a soul as of yet in an electric vehicle. They're very iPhone-y, iPad-y, or whatever, however you want to call that. You know, you don't shift them, you don't engage with them. They don't beg you to roll down the windows and breathe it in on a back road or anything like that. It's nothing like that. Also, okay, let's just take a real life example. It's 11 o'clock at night. You just got home from working all day and running errands. You just plugged in your EV. It's got 20 miles left of range on it, and you get a call that your dad just had a stroke. It's not better in every way, is it? Because now you cannot get someplace you have to get. The network is not there. On top of that, these cars this is going to be hard for me to not get political. And just know, guys, I'm not getting left or right political necessarily. Politics is getting suspiciously intertwined with this. So it's impossible to talk about EVs and not get political at this point, because for the last decade, it's been Elon Musk doing his thing and a few outsiders playing. And now suspiciously, like in the last 2 years, year and a half, all of a sudden, it's the hot topic of every car company. You got to wonder why. So I say that the infrastructure is not there. It's obviously not there. If it's an emergency situation, a death in the family, whatever the situation is, and we have to go cross state lines, whatever it is, we cannot do that in an electric vehicle right now. You have to patiently sit at a charging station that may or may not have a wait. Now, yeah, the infrastructure is something that I absolutely believe is going to be there. And I believe it's going to be there because there is a ton of money to be made for the people who control it. That's why I think that this is getting political. I think, okay, post-Civil War, the railroad was literally and metaphorically uniting America again. There was a shit pile of money, excuse my French, to be made in the railroad. I assume it's the same when the automotive industry's first budding, like the politicians and their buddies, you know, they're figuring out how to get rich and how to capitalize off of this. I'm sure it was the same thing with contracts for the interstate system in the, 50s or whatever. Like, anytime somebody can control your transportation, they're going to get rich. So the government's all of a sudden super involvement in EVs from a green standpoint, I think is absolute pandering to a certain voter, right? It's a one issue thing. And I don't think for them it's really about green at all. I think if you want to do the best thing for the environment long term, internal combustion has come a really long way in the last over a century. So you let that compete with the new emerging technology, they will both get better through competition, and ultimately the consumer will be able to decide. Right now, we have a situation that, again, is very suspicious. The consumer is not getting the choice. The large, very, majority part of America does not want an EV yet. America is not laid out like Europe. It's a vast country, and we have a different mindset. We're very connected to cars and car culture, and for whatever reason, a lot of people aren't ready for it yet. But it seems like that's the way we're getting pushed. The consumer should drive the market. If people want freaking Broncos, then Broncos should be, the kind of cars that manufacturers are making to compete for our business. But that's not happening. Consumers, by and large, don't want this stuff, but it's being mandated by the government, and the car companies are playing along, which makes me wonder, okay, if the car companies don't care so much about the consumers and what they want, who's feeding them? And it also gets me suspicious if the government is pushing this so hard, like they know it. They keep saying it's the future. We don't know that yet. Like I said, this stuff is being kind of rushed to market. We don't know exactly where the drawbacks are. We know at this point they're not rebuildable. They're not maintainable. They're not something you can work on in your garage. Again, for the nerd commenter, reasons why it's not better, deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of problems here. It's driving the cost up to $60,000+. A lot of times $80,000 or $100,000 for these cars that are kind of going the way of cell phones. They become obsolete. The battery craps out. It costs $20,000 to fix it. You can't work on it. You can't fix parts. There's a lot of potential problems, and for it to be being pushed so forcefully as if it's the future, it makes me wonder who's going to profit from it and why it's really going down. Don't get me wrong. I like trees as much as the next guy. You know what I mean? Like, I do think the environment is important, but I do also think that anytime you get a caring group of people like that, it's very easy to deceive those people and to play those people and to, basically just trick them, right? Like get their votes, get stuff pushed through under a false narrative. So that's kind of where I'm at with this stuff. I know I got off topic. Well, I really didn't, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. What else do you have to say? I agree with you. They're one-trick ponies. I agree with you that when you drive these cars, they are cool. I mean, as a car enthusiast, it's a different kind of car, and that should kind of attract us, right? That should get us curious. Like, it's something different, and we should be like kind of interested in that. There's no reason why it has to be an either or thing, which is the way it's kind of started to turn into. There's no reason why you can't have supercharged Mustang sitting next to a Tesla.
Yeah.
But the way we as a society have been acting, everything's got to go divisive. Like, we can't just be like, it's cool, whatever. You know what I mean? It's all of a sudden got to be. And if you guys have noticed, like, you guys listening, have you noticed like trends of like car enthusiasts, car people becoming the next bad guy, right? Like I see where this is going. I absolutely see where this is headed, where we're going to be the Neanderthals, you know what I mean? The knuckle draggers for enjoying real cars and having passions and hobbies that aren't in front of a screen. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, they're already starting to do that. I feel like every time I go on social media, there's some crackdown for the street takeover stuff, which that stuff is dumb. I mean, I get people cracking down on that, but at the same time, they're also getting rid of our racetracks, like multiple really nice, really awesome tracks are shutting down every single year. We spend all this time and all this money and effort building these cool, fun cars, and we can't drive them anywhere. We can't drive them at the tracks because they're closing the tracks. We can't drive them the way that we want to on back roads because Betty Sue wants to go 30 freaking miles an hour, down the road. Can't drive them on the highways near Atlanta because there's too many damn cars. I mean, we can't do anything that's fun anymore. And that's where I feel like going electric is totally giving up on that dream of enjoying driving. Because, like, for me, it's an experience. Some people want to go to Paris. Some people want to, go to a water park. My experience, I want to go get in my Evo or my badass supercharged Mustang and just go rip around for a little while and row some gears and listen to the exhaust and smell the fumes and feel the steering and the tires and have the car kind of fight me as I try to get it to do what I want it to do. I like that whole man versus machine thing. Like, that is the feeling for me. Yeah. And this signifies that I am beyond saving. I'm the bad guy because that's what I enjoy. And that's bullshit. I mean, let's be honest about that for a minute. That's bullshit. That's somebody else basically telling me that what I like is no longer relevant and should no longer be accepted by society.
So where do we draw the line with this stuff? Like, this is a free country and we have to kind of protect people's freedoms to do things as long as it's not hurting other people. But what they're trying to do is pay attention to what's happening here. Like, first of all, there's an agenda to go EV, right? To take the driver out of cars. So you got to consider that. Second of all, it's already kind of happening. Cars have gotten so big and the screens are so big, and it's more about like the Bluetooth connection for people than actually driving. So these people are driving these big cream puff cars and they're not paying attention and they're on the phone. And for us, for you and me and the people listening, driving is an invigorating experience. It's something we enjoy doing. Like, our day doesn't start when we get to where we're going. It starts the second that we start the car. But it's turning into, they are not paying attention when they drive. Therefore, we are the danger, the ones that are paying attention, because we're startling them out of their skin when we actually drive with spirit. So watch how this starts to change. Watch what happens when you cater to the lowest common denominator. The country should say, look, driving requires skill and education. The driving test is going to be as such. And you know what I mean? Like, we should not cater to the lowest common denominator. When somebody's going 35 miles an hour in a 55, they're the problem, not you getting frustrated with them. So what's happened as a society is we're just, no matter what the topic is, we're acknowledging and catering and giving this crap our time, and then it starts to turn around and eat you. Then it becomes, the masses are so out of touch that you, in touch, are becoming a threat to the masses. It's Demolition Man. Like, if you guys have ever seen the movie, like, it's like WALL-E and Demolition Man and Idiocracy and iRobot all at one time. It's literally happening. And the ones that are fighting it and fighting against it are being told to shut up, are being outcasted, are being canceled, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess all of this is a different topic for a different podcast. And like we said, we're trying to keep it short. I don't even know where we're at now.
We got time. Going.
Are we about out of time?
No, we're good. Keep going.
Well, I don't really know what else to say other than you got to realize that the people that are pushing this stuff don't understand cars like we do. They don't know what they don't know. And
they're very quick to take blanket statements and run with it. I had a lot of people on there telling me that, the infrastructure's there, we just don't have it. What did he say? It was the most ridiculous comment. We've got the infrastructure locked down. It's not a big deal. The only states where it's a problem is California, Texas, and Florida. You mean half the United States? We've got it all locked down except for half of the population of the U.S.? Yeah, okay, fine. I'll tell you this, man. I live in Georgia, and I guarantee we do not have the infrastructure for it. We don't have enough charging stations. Pretty much everywhere that you see a gas station, you need a charging station. Every home that is going to be charging these vehicles needs to have two 20-volt outlets, probably at least two of them, one for each vehicle that sits in the garage. And if you're a household like me, where I have 5 freaking cars, how am I going to charge all those things? You know, and by the way, he was, the same guy was really quick to be like, oh man, I can do it in my sleep. You just wire up a 110-volt charger and you throw it in. 110-volt, when it comes to charging something that large, is extremely slow and very inefficient. You end up pulling more amps. It does not hold a candle to what 220 does. Fully, you have an experience with this. When you had that Mustang Mach-E, you didn't have 220-volt in your garage. You had to hook it up to 110-volt.
Yeah.
How did it charge?
So, okay, the Fords that we drive as press vehicles, they come from Charlotte. So he drove the Mach-E from Charlotte to me, kind of out in the country, Georgia. I'm about like an hour and 15 minutes out of Atlanta. And of course he arrives like on E, like on like 8 miles of range, whatever you want to call that. He was like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like I thought there was going to be a charging station, but there wasn't. So he comes like creeping in here. And so I have to plug it in. It gets 2 miles, that car at least, 2 miles per hour of charging. So I had to sit there for a day of the 7 days just to get enough juice to drive it like on an errand and then charge it while I was out, So yeah, I mean, that's its own problem. I agree with, I don't think that the infrastructure is going to be as much of a complete roadblock as people say. It's going to be an undertaking, absolutely. But that goes back to the government is going to make this happen by getting kickbacks and making their friends very, very, very rich. And they're going to
lucky for them, Elon Musk has already started the ball on this and put a bunch of charging stations all throughout the country.
But do you notice how fast this administration blackballs Elon Musk and Tesla and is only talking about the guys that are late to the party like Ford and GM? Like there's
as a Tesla shareholder, and I own a lot of Tesla stock, that's bullshit.
It absolutely is. And all arrows point to the fact that money is exchanging hands here, not with Tesla. Tesla is an American spirited, like just innovative company that it's crazy ironic because if you're a car enthusiast, you really like what company can you really passionately want to be a fan of? That the stuff that they make is unique and individual and pioneering. It's Tesla, the very brand that's killing everything that we love. It's very weird. The point is, I think that the infrastructure will absolutely be there because I think that they're going to use taxpayer dollars to get their friends rich to build this stuff and make it happen. And then what are they going to do? They're going to tax you. There's the electric companies, when they get control of the majority of people's transportation, do you think that it's going to be cheap? No. Look at Netflix. Look at Redbox. Look at give me other examples if you can think about it. It all comes in the digital age. Everything comes in cheaper and more convenient until it takes over the old, more personal way of doing stuff. And then all of a sudden they drive up the prices. They regulate when you can do stuff. This might seem a little conspiracy theorist, but down here in Georgia in the summer, they absolutely put bans on when you can water your lawn. So when do they put bans on when you can charge your car? It's not better in every way. Dude on the internet that wanted to make a comment on TikTok. It is interesting technology that we should proceed optimistically, but with caution. And one other thing I thought about that's kind of irrelevant. We talk about these cars that we love. Like, this is weird, but like one of the things that I really love about cars is they connect me to that era. I love 80s cars because I was a child of the 80s. When I get in those cars, it is literally like a time machine. as artsy as that sounds, or metaphorical as that sounds, it takes me back instantly. The way the sun comes in and hits the dash of these cars, it's my childhood. It ties me into the music. I feel all that stuff. Cars are art that you can drive, and I'm not going down without a fight on that. You know what I mean? Like look, if people don't give a damn about driving one way or the other, hell, drive an electric autonomous car. I don't care. It'll get you out of the fast lane, or maybe it'll put you in the fast lane going 120 miles an hour, and I'll be the slow one in the right lane ripping a CRX or whatever. But the whole thing is, we're all free to do what we want to do, right? Like that's kind of what it boils down to. And I really think it is unwise to rush this. And I really think that the internet is a little petri dish for unwise, stupid people that talk too much, and that all these little dumbass molecules start sticking together and the voices get louder and louder. And what we see is the wise people are silent. The wise people think before they talk. The wise people just, and it's at this point, it's affecting our society in really bad ways, that the foolish are talking so much and so loud. And I think that at this point, people in power have figured out how to manipulate dumb, gullible people. And so that's what we got to watch, man. Like it's bigger than just, EVs are the future or anything like that. It's these people like that guy that read something else and is a little parrot and just kind of says that without doing any real thinking for himself, nor does he have perspective through experience, right? Like he just doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's exactly who people prey on.
That is the part about the internet, is it's a community of people with pitchforks and microphones. People get off on trying to be combative and shitty and just kind of crap on people. And then on top of that, everybody gets a freaking microphone. You could be the biggest idiot in the world and you still get a publicly seen opinion. And that's a problem. Like that's a problem, man. It's because some people should not be allowed to talk on certain subjects because they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Right. Yeah, man. I mean, we're getting to the end here, I guess. The only other thing I could think of that we didn't go over is safety of these cars. When they catch on fire, they're pretty much impossible to put out. You have to literally like submerge them and then just leave it there forever, pretty much. And that's a big problem. How are you going to deal with stuff like that? I think a whole container ship, like an entire container ship full of vehicles, like a month ago, literally the entire thing sunk because an EV caught on fire while it was on board, and there was no way to contain it, no way to put it out, and it literally killed the whole ship. If you guys have ever seen how big a container ship is, that is horrible for the environment because all that shit is at the bottom of the ocean right now.
This stuff is in its infancy, and it's getting pushed really hard. And when does that ever go well? Would you get in a rocket and go out of space on something that got rushed to market? You know what I mean? Like, no. Is that the way you want to do this? And the thing is, we don't have to. Like, we have a system that works really good right now, the internal combustion engine. Is it perfect? Hell no. But you don't scrap 125 years because we found a lithium battery. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, I don't know. There's a lot of sketchy, stupid things going on right now. But anyway, with that,
electric is the future. It's here to stay. I just don't want it to be the only option. This whole thing about the deadline is 2035. All automotive manufacturers have to be making nothing but EVs. Government needs to piss off when it comes to that. If you want to make it to where they have to have a certain number of models or a certain number of sales have to be EVs, that's fine. But don't make it to where they have to kill the entire industry as we know it in order to make this happen, because that's the worst form of virtue signaling I've ever seen in my life. It's using virtue signaling to regulate market. I mean, if you guys see all of the companies, all the jobs, everybody that shows up to SEMA every year, if this happens and it goes through the way that they are planning on it, all those people are going to be out of a job. Where the hell are they going to work? I mean, this creates a massive problem on a huge scope that we're talking about here. To kill an entire industry, and I'm not talking about just the automotive aftermarket. I mean, look at Tesla. They don't use dealerships. Everybody that works as a salesperson or a technician or a car detailer at an automotive dealership, you know, your days are numbered too. Anybody who works for any type of engine component company, days are numbered. Any type of, you know, modification company, like this has massive implications that not many people are looking at it just because they're excited about electric is the future. And I think that is very short-sighted. And we need to be smarter than that as a society, guys. There's ramifications and implications for every decision that's being made right now, and they are not being thought of just because electric's better in every way, and that's freaking stupid.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. They got the foolish talking at this point. You know, they've done the pandering, they've done the marketing, all the commercials, all the everything is talking about electric's the future. Nobody's talking about the concerns. They're just pushing it full for free market. People make things, the consumers choose, the government stays the hell out of it. And the people who make the things that the customers want, they succeed.
Capitalism is so great because it lets the market regulate itself. When it doesn't work is when the government comes in and regulates it for you, and especially when it's a decision that you don't agree with. That's kind of what we're dealing with right now.
What does the government get involved with and make better? Like, what has blossomed under the government? Like,
I go to Florida every single year, and ever since I was a little kid, and they have still not finished with the damn orange barrels on that freaking highway. They never finish anything that they start. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So with that, enough bitching. We'll come back soon and bitch some more about something else.
Oh, for sure. We're good at that.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.